Welcome to the season finale of the Ice Guys NHL Playoffs betting show here at Sportsbook Review. I'm Ian Cameron. I can't believe the season's done already. It just flew by once again, especially the playoffs. My co-host and colleague Andrew McInnes is back with me this week. He is outside, and I wish I was right now too, because it's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit here. It's hotter than a Turkish bath here in my part of Canada, about an hour outside of Toronto. It's just an absolute scorcher, sweltering heat today, but we're persevering through it to do one final hockey show to wrap up thrilling Stanley Cup Finals. Andrew, how are you today?
I'm doing great, Ian. Thanks a lot. Yeah, it's, outside here. I'm in cottage country. Everything didn't really work out as far as, getting to a certain good little office space. But, hey, I guess the outdoors is my office space today, and I'll have to take it. What a great game last night, and I can't wait to kind of just recap this year's NHL and wrap things up with you.
Yeah, it was a very interesting series, to say the least, wrapping up, unfortunately, last night. I was really hoping, Andrew, that we would have a Game 7 to talk about here in this Stanley Cup Finals. Would have been absolutely fantastic, especially being someone that has been pretty adamant from the beginning of this series. I was looking for spots to bet Nashville in this series. I didn't actually bet the series price on Nashville. I was just saying I'm going to just hold back and look to pick my spots throughout the series game by game to support the Nashville Predators. And it looked like they were in a pretty good position at times last night in Game 6. I mean, it was scoreless for the longest time, right till the late stages of the third period. You like the way Nashville was carrying the play at times. They drew some penalties, but again, Matt Murray was fantastic. If Matt Murray would have looked a little vulnerable in the earlier two games in this series in Nashville, I thought Nashville maybe found something, a little bit of a weak link of vulnerability in Matt Murray's game in terms of shooting high, shooting glove side, because down low, Matt Murray, as good as it gets in terms of being able to stop pucks along the ice. He did it again last night, was fantastic in that regard. But I don't think Nashville got the puck elevated enough last night. We saw them again shoot in basically Matt Murray's wheelhouse, which is along the ice, pad saves, where he's very good moving side to side. Nashville didn't exactly challenge Matt Murray enough in terms of elevating that puck in last night's game. Of course, Nashville looked like they had the first goal of the hockey game, Colton Sissons, and it was a double whammy for me because I had Colton Sissons more goals and assists than Patrick Hornqvist. I ended up with a push on that bet for the series. But it could have been a win because Colton Sissons had that goal taken back with the referee losing sight of the puck. An awful, brutal quick whistle, which I'll get back to in a second. And then he had a breakaway chance where he was stopped by Murray. He had a goal post in the third period. I mean, Colton Sissons could have had a hat trick in that game last night, and as it turns out, ends up getting nothing, and his team ends up getting shut out. So just an unfortunate set of circumstances for him and the Nashville Predators. I'll say this right now about this referee call with the losing side of the puck, quick whistle, no goal, and it completely changes the complexion of the game. If Nashville scores there and it ends up 1-0, who knows where that game goes? The crowd gets right into it. Nashville gets more momentum from that. Who knows if Pittsburgh's got what it has in them to withstand what is going to be a Nashville onslaught if that goal counts. I mean, they got the momentum, the crowd's into it, and they're just going to come at Pittsburgh in waves, and you never know. 1-0 could have led to 2-0 or 3-0, but we'll never know, will we? Because of just an absolutely horrendous rule, and it's a rule that has to be changed. Don't be mad at the referee. Be mad at the rule. Based on the letter of the law, based on the rule, the referee did the right thing. When you lose sight of the puck, the rule says the referee has to blow the whistle. If he loses sight of the puck, if he has no clue where it is on the ice surface. Now, the rule is bad. In this case, the referee did a bad job. First of all, why are you off in the corner? Why can't you get yourself in better position? What are you doing off in the corner when the puck is right in front of the net like that? What are you doing in the corner? Playing tiddlywinks? You're supposed to be right there and next to the net, keeping track of where that puck is. No wonder he lost sight of it. I mean, it was just it was terrible positioning by the referee. You got to be closer up to where the play is and where the puck is than where you were. That's number one. Number two, there's got to be an addendum in this rule right away. The competition committee's got to get in the boardroom, get everybody together and fix this, because what should happen, Andrew, is that if the puck is clearly loose and a player slaps it into the net and it ends up being called, blown dead because of a quick whistle, loses sight of the puck, but the puck is clearly loose there. Goalie hasn't frozen the puck. It is there to be played, there to be passed, there to be shot in the net, whatever. If that is the situation, like what we saw last night, there has to be an addendum in the rule blowing the play dead and count the goal, because that's a disgrace. That's an absolute embarrassment last night. That is completely and totally absurd that Nashville didn't have that goal count last night. If the puck is clearly loose, there should be an addendum in that rule that says you can overturn that play being dead just because the referee blew his whistle and lost sight of the puck, because clearly that puck was loose and there to be played. Murray never, ever, ever, ever had that puck in his possession, and yet it was called dead by the referee because he lost sight of the puck. I understand he was supposed to do that, and he did that because he lost sight of the puck, but there's got to be an addendum, a tweak in that rule that allows you to make that a good goal. A good goal if it's clearly, and I mean clear as day, and it absolutely was clear as day that puck was loose. The goalie never had it in his possession, and it should have been allowed for Colton Sissons to hammer that puck home, which he, Andrew, is that once that whistle is blown dead, everything that happens after that point is dead. It's a dead play. It doesn't happen. It's like it never happened. It didn't exist. And that's got to change. That was a clear puck that was there for the taking for Nashville and for Colton Sissons. He put it in the net, was never even close to being in Matt Murray's possession for a freeze or a whistle or a stoppage or a face-off in the zone. It was not even close. Not even close. Not even an argument. There's no issue. It should have been allowed that goal to count. And again, if that goal counts, who knows where that game turns out. I know Nashville is going to be bemoaning that call for a while. I don't know if it completely changes the complexion of the series, because, you could bitch a little bit about that call, but in the long term, Pekka Rinne, you could have played a little bit better. Philip Forsberg, I need more from you than one goal in six games in this series against Pittsburgh. He's been your best player, your bell cow, all regular season and playoffs. Could not find him with a telescope, basically, on the ice surface for some of these games here in this Stanley Cup Finals. Disappointing from Philip Forsberg in terms of his lack of impact, I guess, offensively in this series. There's a lot of reasons why you lost this series. It's not all on this call, believe me, for Nashville. But it was a big one, and it's one that's probably going to be talked about for quite some time, Andrew.
No, I fully agree with you, Ian. I think it's a shame that that's the way that a lot of people are going to remember that game, especially people that are Predators fans, of course. And, it's a little bit different, but it kind of reminds me of in the NCAA basketball championship this year when, there was just an extraordinary amount of terrible foul calls. And, that's how the game is going to be remembered. It's a shame. But just talking about the goaltending situation for a second, I mean, look what Matt Murray did in his second year in the NHL. Back-to-back Stanley Cup champion. He looks so calm and poised back there, Ian. It's unbelievable for someone that's so young to be playing with that well, and just the way that he kind of carries himself. It really seems to me that he's been a pro for so long, Ian. It seems like, and one thing that's being really underwhelmed right now is the mentorship that he's had from Marc-Andre Fleury. I mean, you saw Fleury hand it off to Matt Murray, and in the interview, he said that meant a lot to him. He thinks that his rank is not anywhere close to a lot of people, but Fleury chose to hand it off to him. So it goes to show and how important he was in this series. I mean, I've been talking about the depth of this Pittsburgh Penguins team pretty much throughout our whole shows here with SBR during the playoffs here, and it just goes to show the depth. Anybody at any time, Ian, can come up to play and can rise up to the occasion. I'm a big fan of staying up and after the game and watching all the interviews, Ian. I'm really interested in that stuff. And every single player, what they have to say is our team is so deep that really anyone can step up any given night. All the stars, they have their nights that they shine. A lot of people are saying that anybody on that team could have had the Conn Smythe. It could have been a lot of people on that team. It happened to go to Crosby. People could debate who it could have gone to. But, just the depth that they have. The big goal from Hornqvist, obviously not like the prettiest goal you're going to see, Ian, but in a game like that, you're not going to get a pretty goal. It's goals like that. He was literally behind the net shooting it off Rinne, and that's going to happen. But again, I hate to see the series end like that because, like you said, you don't really know where that series would have gone if that first goal for Nashville would have gone in. But I do know that it would have opened the scoring a little bit. But that crowd is just absolutely nuts. in Nashville. And like you said, it could have really gotten that building going. One thing I will touch on for a second that I have been talking about with Dana Lane on our Puckhead show is just the difference between an actual shot on goal and a dangerous scoring opportunity. I'll just move back to what you were saying about the Predators and the way that they kind of just fluttering pucks to the net and getting shots right in the chest of Matt Murray. You're in the Stanley Cup final in Game 6. You're in an elimination game. You got to get something a little more dangerous. And in my eyes, they didn't really do that. You saw a couple games where Nashville outshot Pittsburgh, but Pittsburgh would probably had outshot them in dangerous scoring opportunities. So I think that should be a new stat that you should see. Dana and I would really like to see that because it's true, and especially in these playoffs, just a shot right at the goalie to freeze the puck isn't really going to score for you. And when you're playing two tight-knit teams, you got to score it and try and get this dangerous scoring opportunity at every chance possible. And I don't really think that the Nashville Predators did that. One thing I will say, too, is, Ryan Johansson going down. How big of a factor does that really have? We'll never know. But
meant a lot more in this series than the last one, for sure.
Exactly, yeah. And, we can't really rely on just the back end of Nashville to kind of carry the momentum and get the offense started all the time. We need to have offense coming all the time from the Predators, and they need to have all four lines going. And that's just where the Pittsburgh Penguins have the advantage. I mean, they can just roll more lines than Nashville simply because of their depth and their speed and how everyone can rise and shine. I mean, I could sit here all day and list the players that could really step up. I'll say right now, Pittsburgh Penguins are not going to be the same team next year as they were this year and the previous year. Back-to-back Cup champions. They've got a lot of free agents and restricted free agents that are probably going to be moving, and it's excellent for them. I mean, they've really proved themselves. Chris Kunitz, 4 Stanley Cups. When you're talking about great hockey players, you probably don't mention Chris Kunitz. He's probably not in your top 25 or anything like that. But talk about role players like him, and that are just kind of undervalued on teams. I mean, I just have to respect people like that. Either way, though, I think it was a great playoffs. Nashville Predators, look at what they did. We have to give them some respect. I mean, for going out like that in a 1-0 or 2-0 game, into the Pittsburgh Penguins, gotta love it.
Yeah, I mean, Pittsburgh had experience closing out a series on the road in Game 6, and they were able to do that, just like they did last year against San Jose, win the Stanley Cup on the road in a Game 6, and they did that again against Nashville here in Game 6 last night. I know a couple of people in the chat wondering about the scheduling because BMOC right side of campus, they are on a Tuesdays, or they're on at 12:30. But usually on Tuesdays during the day. Jeff doesn't know much about hockey, doesn't cover hockey, doesn't watch much of it. I mean, he couldn't tell you the difference Sidney Crosby from Bing Crosby, okay? It's like me with Wayne Rooney. You can't tell the difference between him and Mickey Rooney. Like that, my knowledge of soccer, you can stick it in a thimble. That's how little I know about it. It's same with BMOC. Doesn't cover hockey, doesn't follow hockey, so that's why he doesn't appear here on the hockey show with us. But yeah, Jeff and Donnie will be back later this week with their programming for sure. I know we will be a lead-in, Andrew and I, tomorrow to their show. I mean, Jeff and Donnie, they'll be on right side of campus Tuesday, 12:30 Eastern. We'll be a lead-in to that doing our CFL show, which launches tomorrow, 12 noon Eastern time. We'll be on for 30 minutes talking Canadian football. Looking forward to doing that tomorrow, leading into Jeff and Donnie's show right side of campus. Should be fantastic. Great back-to-back shows Tuesday coming up here at Sportsbook Review. So you're definitely going to want to check that out without a doubt. I got to go back, Andrew, to the Patrick Hornqvist goal. Obviously, the goal that made it 1-0, the Stanley Cup winning goal in the final couple minutes. I hear everybody that was anti-Pittsburgh, bashing the Penguins, hoping they wouldn't win that hockey game last night, saying, oh boy, that was a lucky goal, garbage goal. Terrible goal to win the Stanley Cup on, banking it in off the goalie. Well, hold on now. How about let's give Patrick Hornqvist credit for some smart hockey IQ, a creative play, doing something very, very smart, in my opinion. He saw Pekka Rinne was off the post. He says, if I can elevate this puck, shoot it off Pekka Rinne's back, it's got a good chance to deflect into the net. And that's exactly what happened. It was a great play by Patrick Hornqvist. I wanted Nashville to win that game last night, but you don't hear me walking around saying, oh, garbage goal, crap goal, lucky goal. Blah, blah. No. I mean, Patrick Hornqvist, that was some skill to do that. He saw Rinne off the post, saw there was an opening, saw he could elevate that puck purposely. And this was premeditated. This was calculated by Patrick Hornqvist. Shoot it off his back, get it to ricochet into the net, And that's exactly what happened. Great play by Patrick Hornqvist. I don't really like classifying that particular goal as a garbage goal or a lucky goal or anything like that. I think, yeah, it's unfortunate, a bank shot, but you got to give Patrick Hornqvist a little bit of credit for showing a pretty good, creative, smart, a thoughtful play, premeditated and calculated to do that, put it in off Rene, and it's obviously the goal that allowed the Pittsburgh Penguins to hoist the Stanley Cup around Bridgestone Arena last night.
Yeah, I'm not really a big fan of that either, Ian. I hate when people say that. I mean, a goal is a goal. And when you look at a game like that, like I said previously, you're not really expecting the prettiest goal and the nicest goal you've seen all playoffs to happen in a game like that. That was a goaltending battle. That was a defensive battle. There were dangerous opportunities for both teams, but watching that game, I just expected something kind of funky to happen. And when I saw that happen, I kind of just had a little smile on my face saying, hey, if that's the way that they're going to win the cup, I can't blame them. I mean, everything is still hardworking. You hear hockey players say a win is a win. You could win 6-0, or you could win 1-0 or 2-0. But, that was still a great game for both teams. Just happened that Pittsburgh was able to come out on top, honestly. But like I said, it's tough to see people really butthurt, Ian, because you want it to be very firm and strict and confirmed about what actually happened. And, now with that disallowed goal, it's, a lot of backers on Predators are, pretty upset. And a lot of people don't like to get upset about, sports betting and stuff like that. But that's one thing that could probably piss some people off. But again, coming into it, I think the Pittsburgh Penguins did just have the edge, especially there in the third period. I think they just were kind of more hungry around the net.
Yeah, I would agree. I mean, Nashville had chances. Oh, did they have some chances in the second and third period in particular? But the 5-on-3, as soon as that went to the wayside for Nashville, critical third period 5-on-3 they had, and they just couldn't bury it. They had chances. They had Murray swimming in the net, but again, couldn't elevate the puck. I mean, everything was down along the ice surface. Murray, with that flexibility, with being able to stretch those pads out left to right, was able to take away the bottom part of the net. And kept everything out. I mean, Nashville had those chances. I also thought Nashville was a little bit guilty of overhandling the puck, passing a little bit too much on their power play, not enough pucks to the net at times, especially during the 5-on-3. That ended up being a big problem for them. And I go back, unfortunately, I hate to pile on to Philip Forsberg, but he had a phenomenal first 3 rounds. Anaheim, St. Louis, Chicago. It was fantastic in those 3 series. You need more than 1 point from him in 6 games in the Stanley Cup Finals. Unfortunately, that's all you got. And Pekka Rinne, if he gives you 1 or 2 better games in Pittsburgh, maybe this is a different outcome here in the Stanley Cup Finals, because there were games where Nashville was clearly the superior team earlier in the series, particularly games 1 and 2 in Pittsburgh, but his goaltending just wasn't good enough, and Matt Murray was better, and that was the difference in the end. You think back to Game 1 when Pittsburgh went 37 minutes in a row without a shot on goal, and we're still able to win that game 5-3 in the end. Sort of set the tone maybe in that game that maybe this wouldn't be Nashville's series here in the Stanley Cup Finals. All right, before we wrap up this show, we're going to keep it, 20, 25 minutes. We're going to look at some early Stanley Cup futures for next year. They were released early last night or early this morning for 2017-2018 NHL season. As expected, they'll be going for their 3rd Stanley Cup in a row. The Pittsburgh Penguins topping the Stanley Cup futures board for next season, Andrew, at 9-1. You've got the Edmonton Oilers and the Washington Capitals at 10-1 as the tied for the second highest odds to win the Stanley Cup, 10-1. Anaheim Ducks 14-1, Nashville 14-1, Chicago 14-1, Minnesota 14-1, Toronto Maple Leafs 16-1, Boston Bruins 16-1, Rangers 18-1, Kings 18-1, Canadiens 20-1, Blue Jackets 20-1, Sharks 20-1, Blues 20-1, Tampa Bay 20-1, Dallas 20-1, Ottawa 25-1, Florida 33-1, Calgary 33-1, Islanders 40-1, Jets 40-1, Flyers 40-1, Sabres 50-1, Carolina 66-1, Detroit 80-1, Arizona 80-1, Colorado 80-1, Jersey, Vancouver 100-1, and rounding out the list, the expansion Vegas Golden Knights at 200-1. Yes, don't forget about Vegas, baby. They join the NHL next season, the Golden Knights, for their first season in the National Hockey League. Looking at this board, I mean, obviously Pittsburgh should be favored again. They've got the core, the nucleus on that team, obviously. to maybe win a Stanley Cup for a third straight year, even though that's always a difficult task. The Edmonton Oilers deserve to be, I think, as high as they are, really. I mean, they got a ton of playoff experience this year. They're only going to get better. Connor McDavid and that nucleus. So them being up at 10-1 doesn't surprise me. Leafs at 16-1 are a decent little value consideration right now. Again, a team that pushed Washington hard in that first round, gave them everything they could handle. Austin Matthews, Marner, Nylander, all of those guys now with 1 year of playoffs under their belt. Maybe they're going to be ready to take a step forward. I think right now, just early synopsis here, my early thought with, I don't really like betting Stanley Cup futures, Andrew, until we see free agency play out, until we see the draft play out. Let's see these personnel changes that these teams undergo here over the course of the next month or two. So I'm very hesitant in jumping in with a futures bet this early, right after the Stanley Cup finals of the previous season. But there's already one that stands out to me like a sore thumb from a value perspective. And I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning 20-1, a team that missed the playoffs this year, a glut of injuries, an insane number of man games lost to injury this season. When you talk about all the guys that missed time, Kucherov missed time, Palat missed time, Hedman missed time, Stamkos out for the majority of the season. And yet they were still, until the last maybe week or so into the season, even the last 4 or 5 days, still had an outside shot at making the playoffs. Ben Bishop, the transition in terms of their starting goaltender position. Ben Bishop on the way out. Andrei Vasilevsky assuming that role full time. There's a little bit of a transition there, and him getting used to having that number one goaltending responsibility. That maybe hindered Tampa Bay a little bit. Again, the cluster injuries on the blue line that they had to deal with all season. Several key injuries up front all season, and yet still almost got into the playoffs somehow. If this team has even just a little bit better luck in the health department and staying healthy and avoiding injuries next season, not only are they going to be in the playoffs, but they've got the kind of team and the depth and the defense. And Vasilevsky's still got potential. I mean, you've still got to see consistency from him. That's the biggest worry, concern, I guess, that I would have with Vasilevsky as the number one guy. Can he do it for 82 games during a regular season? Can he do it in the postseason? That still remains to be seen. Jury out there. But boy, from a value perspective, 20-1 with an ultra-talented Tampa Bay Lightning team that I think is going to be primed and poised for a bounce back next season. That one stands out like a sore thumb as a future right now in the Stanley Cup futures market for next season that has plenty of value. Andrew, I don't think I can hear you here.
Oh, my apologies.
There you go.
Yeah, no, I agree with you about how you can't really assume futures in the NHL before you see what happens at the draft or what happens during the trades during the summer. I think it's the best time to handicap hockey is just after the trade deadline. And you can really kind of see the teams that have put the right pieces of the puzzle together to really help you get your picks in line. But as far as a couple of futures for myself,
Andrew, we lost you again? I think we did. I think we have lost Andrew just for the point in time. We'll see if he comes back. But yeah, Tampa Bay to me was the one that stood out big time. 20-1 right now. I mean, 20-1 odds with a team that, hey, they've got the potential to be a very, very good team again next season. I don't look at this season as, whoa, Tampa Bay Lightning, they're no longer a legitimate, viable Stanley Cup contender. I mean, you go back and look down the list, down their roster, up and down, how many man games they lost due to injury this season. It was sick. I mean, in a bad way. It was just not very good seeing how many times this team was dealing with not just one, not just two, but up to 3, 4, 5 players out of the lineup at any given time, forwards or defense. Tyler Johnson's another guy that missed time this season for the Tampa Bay Lightning. So again, you factor that in, all the injuries they had to deal with, and yet still almost to make the playoffs. If they stay even relatively remotely healthy next season, that's a loaded hockey team. They're going to be strong again. And looks like, speaking of being strong, Andrew's strong because he's back with us here and persevering through some technical glitches. Andrew, go on. What were you saying about the futures market?
I'm just saying I'm loving the Western Conference for next year. I think the Edmonton Oilers or possibly San Jose Sharks. I did think the Nashville Predators would be back in the mix, but PK Subban last night during his interviews was a little bit too confident, saying they'll be back there, like it's nothing back in the Stanley Cup final, but it's not going to be as easy for them this time. And I think they had a great season, but Stanley Cup next year. I think either San Jose Sharks or Edmonton Oilers. I think either way, no matter what happens, I think the Stanley Cup is moving on to the Western Conference next year.
Very possible. I mean, Edmonton's live. And unfortunately, odds makers know it. I mean, 10-1. I mean, yeah, everybody wondering if the odds makers, where they would price Edmonton after this great run, making the playoffs with this extremely talented young core, getting all the way to the second round, and a game 7 to boot in the second round against the Anaheim Ducks. And the odds they're not sleeping on Edmonton, Andrew, clearly. Not when you're pricing them at 10-1 to win the Stanley Cup. They know how good this team is going to be, without a doubt. So Andrew's looking at some Western Conference teams just as early value laden futures. I'm looking at the Tampa Bay Lightning 20-1. That one just stands out that's a great price on a team that has every potential to be there in late May, early June next season, if you ask me. All right. And the party's over. Unfortunately, it is for the Ice Guys, our NHL Stanley Cup Playoffs betting show, Andrew. It's our final show. It's our season finale. I don't know. I don't usually make long-term plans, but I'm hoping we're back in October doing this show for a full NHL season. It would be fantastic. Hopefully, Andrew will be back as well, joining us for the Ice Guys in the fall. Andrew, any last final words before we say adios for the Ice Guys for the final time this season?
No, it's been a pleasure. It's been excellent doing this with you every single week here in the playoffs. It's been great handicapping it, but I look forward to next year during the whole regular season, being able to give the viewers a week by week, when every game is happening, trying to give out some free plays and help everyone cash in the NHL and try and prove that the NHL is a market and that people can get into the NHL betting as well. But I'm looking forward to moving on to the summer, Canadian Football League, my fellow Canadian, doing that with you.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, Andrew, I'm in Hamilton, Ontario. I'm actually right in the hub of the Hamilton Ticats. I mean, Tiger Town, as they call it. I'm a Ticat season ticket holder. I'll be going to the preseason game this Friday night at Tim Hortons Field. I'm looking forward to that. It's going to be fantastic. Can't wait to see some CFL football. Can't wait to talk CFL football here at Sportsbook Review. Andrew and I, it's the 3-down breakdown. And I got to give a shout out to at Steeler Sam on Twitter for giving me that recommendation to call the show that name, because he came up with it. That's not an Ian Cameron brainchild there. As much as I'd like to take credit for that, I can't. Steeler Sam, thanks for the name. It's a great name. I decided I'm rolling with it. 3-down breakdown, CFL show, premiering Tuesday, June 13th, tomorrow, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time, right here at SBR Videos. It's going to be a half-hour show. It's going to lead into Jeff and Donnie when they take over the right side of campus every Tuesday, 12:30 Eastern, 9:30 a.m. Pacific time. You've got back-to-back live shows now on Tuesdays throughout the summer, starting tomorrow. I mean, just kick back, watch SBR Videos. Let us take you through the Canadian Football League season, and then Jeff and Donnie take over after us at 12:30. It's a great back-to-back there, a belly-to-belly sports betting show style here at SBR every Tuesday starting tomorrow. We're looking forward to it. We're going to be talking season preview tomorrow. We're going to look at CFL futures, Grey Cup futures. We're going to do quick team-by-team breakdowns of the East and West Division. And then next week, we'll have Week 1 lines available next Tuesday's show, our second show, and we'll break down the Week 1 CFL card and try to start making some money betting Canadian football action. I'm excited. Like I say, I'll be going to a bunch of games, specifically in Hamilton and Toronto, throughout the course of the regular season, so it's going to be fantastic. Looking forward to some CFL talk starting tomorrow. We've got the roundtable on Wednesday at 12:30 Eastern. As always, with me, Drew, Jeff, Donnie, and I believe special guest Teddy Covers from Costa Rica. He's down there with the SBR crew. He'll be joining us for that roundtable on Wednesday. It's going to be a fantastic, loaded, slammed show there. Teddy in Costa Rica all week doing shows at SBR. So this is a fantastic week of programming at SBR. So stay with us all week long and get the best information you need from a sports betting perspective. All right, Andrew, last words.
No, looking forward to the Canadian Football League with you, Ian. I love betting the CFL, probably one of my most profitable sports. Last season was a great season. And for everyone out there that doesn't usually bet in the CFL, if you're not trying to do it right away, just give us a couple of weeks. We'll be releasing a couple of free plays. We'll be analyzing the CFL on a week-by-week basis. And I hope you guys can, get into the CFL before the NFL starts. I know everyone likes the NFL probably a little bit more, but this is some great football as well. Very entertaining and very profitable. we're going to try and guide you in the right direction. And I look forward to that weekly show with you, Ian.
Yeah, and there's going to be several CFL games on the ESPN family of networks in the United States throughout the regular season. I will make a point of it to let people know, let our viewers know which games those are throughout the season, so that you can watch those games on, your ESPN2s, ESPN News. I mean, channels like that. They're going to have CFL games sporadically throughout the regular season. So if they are on national television in the United States, definitely we'll let our viewers know when those games take place. So we'll be back tomorrow, Tuesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time, season premiere edition of the 3-Down Breakdown, our CFL Canadian football betting show. Andrew and I back with you Tuesday, noon Eastern, 9 a.m. Pacific time, talking CFL football. Until then, have a great rest of the day, and as always, good luck.